Good day, everyone. Welcome to Real Conservative Headline News. I'm your host, Nathaniel Rajkumar. The results of CAPE 2025 and CSEC are in. Even while overall performance has improved, Martin Lumpkin, president of TUTA, acknowledges that mathematics is still the largest challenge. I believe everyone around the world can agree that mathematics is a challenge as much as I do love maths. The Ministry of Education said in a news statement last Friday that the overall pass rate for students who received grades 1 through 3 on Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate CSEC tests was 70.65%, which is higher than the 2024 pass rate of 68%. While mathematics increased to 45.89% from 42.59% the previous year, English A also improved, reaching almost 81%. The English A is definitely in a much better percentage bracket. What I will say, I used to tutor maths years ago, and it's something that mathematics, there are some that are just inclined to understanding it but on their own. They don't really need much assistance to be able to understand mathematics and to use formulas. But basically, in general, what teachers really need to focus on is not just writing down formulas on a blackboard, but actually getting these students to understand why you are using certain formulas and how to go about actually implementing it into the particular questions that are being asked. It isn't as complicated as people think, And then, of course, you need to remember your formulas, but it's all about understanding. And if it is teachers begin to take more time to actually explain the formulas and the reasons why it is used to the students, I'm telling you, the pass rate is going to increase. It's not a perfect solution. I'm not saying that, but I'm telling you, it's all about, just like how English is about reading and understanding, mathematics is basically the same thing, You have to comprehend the problems that are set before you in the questions, and you need to be able to know how and when to use particular formulas. Pan on the Avenue will go as scheduled on Arapita Avenue in Port of Spain, despite the cancellation of the Independence Parade and fireworks display here in Trinidad and Tobago. And please bear in mind that this is only something that the decision has been made for this year alone. It's not like Independence Parades will not proceed and take place in the future. Both Pan Trinbago President Beverly Ramsey Moore and organizer Ayana Garcia confirmed the yearly celebration of the national instrument. Ramsey Moore stated that she had communicated with the organizers and that the schedule remained unchanged. Minister of Sport and Youth Affairs Philip Watts hosted national swimmer Johan Matthew Matamoro for discussions on the athletes' pathway to the Olympic stage, the resources required to sustain its development, and Trinidad and Tobago's prospects in relay swimming. Once again, it shows the Kamla Persad administration is interested in our youths and in our sports and the development of sports and the progress of sports here in Trinidad and Tobago. During the courtesy call, Matamoros shared his vision of forming Trinidad and Tobago's first ever Olympic relay swimming team. Sounds interesting. With his eyes firmly set on the upcoming Commonwealth Games and Central American and Caribbean CAC Games. He emphasized the crucial need for sustained support to balance the demands of elite sport and academic excellence. Exactly. Particularly in areas such as international tuition funding and access to world-class swim equipment. Minister Watts lauded Matamoros' extraordinary discipline and dedication, reassuring him that the ministry is committed to backing elite athletes through initiatives like the Elite Athletes Assistance Program. The minister also extended heartfelt gratitude to Matamoros' parents for their steadfast support in nurturing their son's talent and ambition. The Ministry of Sports and Youth Affairs reaffirms its pledge to invest in Trinidad and Tobago's brightest young talent, ensuring that athletes like Johan Matthew Matamoro have the resources and encouragement they need to compete on and win on the world stage. And that is why, in my opinion, that some version of the live sport program should be reintroduced here in Trinidad and Tobago. It's going to benefit our youths throughout our nation. And the thing about it is, it's going to keep them occupied, and therefore, they will not be getting themselves involved in things that they shouldn't. Now for some regional news, CAF Development Bank of Latin America and the Caribbean has approved grant funding of Barbados $450,000 US, $225,000 to support the promotion of cultural tourism and the creative economies as Barbados prepares to host CariFesta 15, the Caribbean's premier multidisciplinary arts festival. News from Guyana now. In a landmark effort to strengthen rehabilitation. Nah, I don't like how that. Now for some regional news. CAF Development Bank of Latin America and the Caribbean has approved grant funding of $450,000 Barbados dollars to support the promotion of cultural tourism and the creative economies as Barbados prepares to host CariFesta number 15, the Caribbean's premier multidisciplinary arts festival. Some news from Guyana. In a landmark effort to strengthen rehabilitation services across the country, Kalpataru Projects International Limited, in collaboration with the High Commission of India, the CARICOM Secretariat, and the Ministry of Health, launched the India CARICOM Prosthetic Limbs Camp at the Ptolemy Reed Rehabilitation Center in Georgetown, Guyana. The people of Region 3 are witnessing an unprecedented transformation in their social and economic landscape as President Dr. Mohammed Irfan Ali will on Wednesday commission the brand new Tushtan Secondary School just weeks after cutting the ribbon on the state-of-the-art Dekenderan Hospital. Together, these projects, one in education and the other in healthcare, signal a bold step towards uplifting communities. And as I keep saying over and over again, this type of performance, this type of service to the people is taking place throughout the entire nation of Guyana under the Irfan Ali's administration. I'll read over that part. Together, these projects, one in education and the other in healthcare, signal a bold step towards uplifting communities, expanding opportunities, and ensuring a better quality of life for residents of the rapidly growing region. And of course, because of all this, it will be providing employment to a lot of individuals in those areas. President Ali announces Commission's new wing of North Roomvelt Secondary School. President Dr. Irfaan Ali has announced that over 4,000 youths from across South Georgetown will soon benefit from a new FIFA-certified pitch, along with a 300-meter athletic track in the compound of the North Roomvelt Secondary School. The president made this announcement on Monday at the commissioning of a new $600 million wing at the said school. Development, progress, investment in what? In the youths of our nation. Trinidad and Tobago under the United National Congress, and in Guyana, Irfaan Ali's administration. Two of a kind people, they're very similar. President Dr. Irfaan Ali on Monday said that the single electronic identification system, a new digital ID initiative for all citizens, will be utilized to simplify registration and access to the government's cash grant voucher program. During his address at the commissioning of a new building at the North Roomvelt Secondary School, the president disclosed that he was the first person to be enrolled in the digital identification system. Of course, people, it's all about what? Convenience, while also providing grants and services to the people of your nation. So it shows consideration on the part of the president of Guyana. Cares about the people, definitely in a genuine way. Some news from Jamaica. Reggae giant Beres Hammond, one of my favorite reggae artists of all time, along with people like Chronixx and Buju Banton. So reggae giant Beres Hammond and young torchbearers Jesse Royal and Medi Sun have joined forces on a hot new single, Born in Jamaica, a cultural anthem wrapped in warmth and melody. I for sure will definitely be listening to that song to see what I think about it. Most likely once Beres Hammond is collaborating with artists, it's going to be of extremely high quality. Some international news now. Dr. Amit Sen, Director of Children First, emphasizes the role of exercise in brain development and cognitive function. He highlighted the fact that physical activity can improve learning, memory, and overall cognitive abilities. And of course, we're talking about actual activities and not just playing game on your phone, and people running, playing sports. That's what he's talking about. Video footage provided for this news report is provided by India Today.
So next time somebody calls you fidgety, tell them you're not fidgety, you're just thinking and your body is thinking along with you. To talk to us a little bit more about this, I have Dr. Amit Sen join us now. He's the director and senior consultant at Children First. He's actually been doing this with kids for a really long time and has some really interesting anecdotes on what we can learn from it. Dr. Sen, you were telling me earlier that perhaps this is not new. This is something that we have known for a while with kids. But for the first time, not sort of tokoing someone on being very fidgety is quite a thing for adults as well. Where do you draw your daily inspiration from? And if you could share some anecdotes there.
Absolutely. I'm very excited that you took this topic up today because we have, I think, working with children, practicing this for at least 2 decades, understanding that brain development, the development of the mind, cognitions, emotions, are so much to do with physical exercise, sensory stimulation of different kinds. And even if you look at, wisdom from the past, when parents, schools, other stakeholders would insist that children should go out to play, and they should spend a good couple of hours, in a garden, in the playfield. And there is a reason behind it, because now science is catching up with it and saying, yes, there is evidence that all this enhances brain growth and development. Indeed, there is very clear indication that if you do not get that exercise, which is what the reality is in today's digital world, where children don't go out to play, there is an impact on brain development. One can see that. There is cortical thinning, which means the cortex of the brain, which is actually the seat of where we, of thinking, of intelligence, that becomes thinner. Focus and the ability to concentrate and learn, that diminishes. The ability to regulate yourself, your own feelings, etc., is less. And
you're essentially saying that we've got to focus not just on our mind. We've actually got to focus on every part of our body, every organ, because all of that is constituting into the end product. So mind over matter, that debate, should we say that's settled now?
Absolutely.
Not the case anymore?
Again, I think that this understanding that the brain is superior and is separate from the body is a Western concept. And it came from certain philosophers like Descartes. And he clearly said that there is, the brain and the body is different. And in the last maybe 20 to perhaps 30 years, there's been a lot of people in the, mental health fraternity who've been challenging that concept, because we've understood that it's not just the brain. There are many other things that go into brain development, and it's something which works synergistically. The mind and the body, the brain and the body, they're growing together, and one supports the other. And if you take away one, then the other suffers as well. So it is not as if the brain is taking the first, is taking the leader's role and dictating the body to do what.
Examples are coming to me, how yoga tells you that breathing the right way can settle in a lot of anxiety. We say stuff like going weak in the knees. We say the gut feeling. This has been wisdom or historic wisdom passed on by our grandmothers for a while. And now, should we say science is finally catching up to it?
Yes, I would completely agree with that. Indeed, yoga and mindfulness exercises and relaxation exercises that we often practice with young people who we treat, they benefit hugely from it. Of course, we combine it with other things as well. I mean, we look at the cognition, the intellectual development too. And however, if we neglect this one, this physical bit, then there is a price to pay for it. And that is what we have seen in today's world. Which is also why in our therapies today, there are a lot of therapies which are very physical. For instance, occupational therapy, which is, full of movements, play, swinging, jumping, getting into a ball pool. And when we have kids get into such a space, we help them develop what are called fundamental skills. Again, skills to do with focus, sequential tasking, to think through a task, plan it, and be able to do it. All those things become much better. Equally, when a child goes for a game of football or goes for a swim, they come back looking calmer and are often much more focused and able to learn much better. Nowadays, in many progressive schools, they allow kids to get up and walk around when the teacher is teaching. They also actually allow, in some schools, and we work with those schools, they allow the child to sit on a gym ball, where you can actually sit on a ball and keep rocking and bouncing on the ball while the teacher is teaching and there is a conversation going on. They're given things to fidget with under the table, and they have what are called therabands, which are, on the legs of the chair, and the child can actually go tuk, 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 like that with their feet, so that they can focus better. And the whole concept comes from this realization, even in education, that all kinds of physical activity and movement helps you to learn better. The multimodal ways of learning, where you're using all your senses, your hearing, your touch, your smell, all of that, as well as doing something. So nothing teaches you better than doing something. And what is involved in doing? Your motor skills, isn't it? You're using your hands, your fingers, your eyes, your, sensory apparatus, all of that. And when
So
all of
should
that
I
comes
take
together,
away? Should
yeah.
I take away from this that stop thinking, get moving? Is that the takeaway from this?
Oh yes, oh yes. In fact, there are some kids and even adults who actually learn much better when they are on the move, and which
Ah,
is probably why some of the more progressive offices like Google, for
hmm.
instance, they allow people and they have spaces for people to go and play some table tennis, go and do some music.
Yes.
There is
Yeah,
a board
yeah,
game out there. So
yeah.
whoever is comfortable with whatever, there are other
Huh.
spaces which are soft cushiony
True.
sofas or bean bags. So you have to get in and experience it physically to be able to learn and work better. So your mind begins to work better because you're allowing your body to actually work synergistically with your brain and your mind. It's
And
very exciting. All this.
for all those people with cabins watching right now, this is your cue to get a treadmill installed in your office and take all those walking meetings along. If you want your mind to work sharp, I think that's the big one over there. Thank you, Dr. Sen, for joining us and bringing us all those very interesting and fascinating insights.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Japan's SoftBank will invest $2 billion into struggling American chip maker Intel. The two companies announced on Monday. SoftBank will pay $23 per share of Intel common stock, according to a statement from the companies. Intel shares rose 6% in after-hours trading recently. The news comes just days after reports that the White House discussed taking a stake in Intel. Reports on Monday, so of course everybody else will be interested in investing now because they know that the state, the federal government is investing into that company. Reports on Monday put the government's possible stake at 10%, that's a lot, of the chip maker worth roughly $10.5 billion. We have to give thanks, of course, to President Donald Trump for making such a very important, significant decision. Speaking of Donald Trump, President Donald Trump's bold pro-growth agenda, including investment into companies like that, in his second term was highlighted by the White House on Monday. The White House emphasized that American businesses are hitting unprecedented heights, with earnings far surpassing expectations and the stock market climbing to new high records, people. American businesses are thriving more than ever before. Folks, that brings us to the end of today's news headlines. Thanks again to everyone who continues to support my content. Please like, comment, share. Stay blessed and stay safe most of all. In Jesus' name.